Okay, today we're going to be talking about all things that apply to living in Florida in 2023, and yes, more specifically to Southwest Florida, but it's going to include things about housing, about insurances, about jobs, and many other things. So stick around, make sure that you're listening to everything we're going to be talking about when we discuss living in Florida in 2023. If you don't know, you better learn. Getting after that next. Hey everybody, my name's Craig Cunha. I'm a real estate agent here in Southwest Florida, and if you're looking for a channel to tell you a little bit more about what it's like to live, play, eat, sleep, and buy real estate on the Gulf Coast, this is the channel for you. Go ahead, subscribe, hit the little bell to make sure you're notified every time. Hey, and if you want to get your search started right away, you can go to our nextfloridahome.com, or you can use our mobile app, our Next Florida Home, and get started there. If you have any questions beyond what you find on these videos or through the website, you've got to do what everyone else does and call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast. All right, so first one we're going to start with is the most obvious. Everybody talks about weather. It's either going to be a good thing or a bad thing. They talk about the hurricanes, the rain, and the lightning in the summertime, or they talk about the beautiful weather, the 70s and 80s, and no humidity in the wintertime like we have right now. This is the way I went out today for the day. Again, another long sleeve shirt, protect myself from the sun. Got the hat, and once again, take your shades with you. But the weather is amazing. You don't have to even screen out your activities for the day this time of year as far as weather goes, because it's going to be beautiful from sun up to sundown. We've been out on bicycles and walking the dog, and out on motorcycles yesterday. Went up for a St. Patty's Day function up in Punta Gorda. So there's a ton of stuff going on in the area. We're going to discuss it all, but the weather is going to be the least of your concerns. Now, one of your bigger concerns is going to be the traffic. Oh my goodness, it's absolutely horrible this time of year. Oh, and there's some more traffic. That's air traffic. We are currently today at Lakes Park. So this is one of the most beautiful places you're going to go to get some outdoor activity. You'll see behind me a walking path. There's going to be some folks, we're walking on the path now. And then across the way, there are splash pads and pavilions and bicycle paths. You can come rollerblading. The only thing they don't allow here is pets. So with that said, the air traffic is gone now, so maybe it will not infringe upon the rest of this conversation, but traffic has been absolutely appalling, and much of it's because the infrastructure here was not really set up for the tens of thousands of people on each of these roadways. One of our busiest intersections is up on Colonial Boulevard and 6 Mile Cypress. They're talking upwards of 100,000 cars going by that area in a day. That's just a lot of forced traffic, and we have this everywhere now. Spring break did just start, but spring training is in full force. Yesterday there were 2 games going on at once. One was the Twins game and one was the Sox game, and they're in this similar location. They're within maybe 3 miles of each other, so the traffic was not good. We stayed away from that area. Like I said, we went up to Punta Gorda on the motorcycles, and it was stacked up there. Hundreds of people by 11 a.m. already drinking beer and taking in the festivities. So if there's anything going on for holidays and such, especially during season, make your plans, get out early, because otherwise you might be standing around waiting. Now, as far as the traffic in the area, a number of things you're going to want to look out for. We have drivers from all over the world here. It's not just the local people. It's not just the snowbirds. I mean, there are people from out of the country. So a lot of different driving styles, a lot of turn signal malfunctions, malfunction being the driver not turning it on. We don't use them. And the left lane lingers. Yes, you know that's one of my pet peeves, but they're there every single day. I think I'm getting better. You might have to ask my other half about whether or not I'm still patient with it, but it is definitely a concern. So if you're somebody that does not like to be in traffic, doesn't want crowds, you have to get out early and get going on your day so you can get back in before the craziness really happens. Midday through into the evening, it's going to be really busy, and if you go on the roads during rush hour times, which are generally going to be between 7 and 9 in the morning, and I'm going to say between 3:30 and 5:30 in the evening, it seems to be clearing by 6 o'clock, but those are your really tough times during the week for all those workforce folks. Now, housing, we have to talk about the fact that, number one, there are many styles of housing. Down here, we've got everything from, mobile homes and manufactured homes. We've got condos and single-family homes, townhomes. There's just all kinds of different housing here. And if you get a big enough plot of land, you can do some really funky stuff out there with all your utility sheds and things like that. But one of the things that you have to keep in mind with that is the fact that housing is never going to be not affordable. You just have to adjust your standards of what you're looking for when you're choosing the house. I know that condos right now are starting in the hundreds, and manufactured homes are starting below 100,000. And then you've got a single family home that we can start those in the low 200s. So to say it's not affordable, it's affordable. Interest rates are a little higher, but if you are going to wait around for interest rates, then you could be waiting a very long time. The last report I heard, we're not going to be seeing anything in the 5s for the foreseeable future. Oh, there's more air traffic. So adjust your expectations. If you can get something in the 5s, there are builders right now that are buying down the rates. Some sellers are giving concession money. That means closing cost money, which you can use to buy down your rate. So there are ways around it. We can negotiate things into your purchase. But if you need a house, it's not going to get any better. And the rental rates here, you're looking for starting somewhere in the maybe low 2,000s a month, but definitely mid 2,000s. For just a small 1,200 square foot home. So if you really don't want to live in those cramped quarters, then we're gonna have to look at some possibilities for what you can purchase for your budget. Now, if we're talking about housing, we have to talk about insurance, right? Because that's all you hear about. Well, insurance is very expensive. Not so much. There's a lot of areas where you don't need flood insurance, so that removes that whole part. Now, I'm not going to say there aren't some very pricey flood insurance areas, because there are. But again, you know the risks of the type of property you're buying into in order to get them. So if you're going to live on the water, expect flood insurance. Expect higher rates. If you're going to be living in locations that you know have been prone to flooding, also expect higher rates. There's some folks that aren't touched at all. In fact, I saw a listing today for a new construction home one of my clients sent me, and it is a new construction with flood insurance of $600 a year. I mean, $600. Are you going to stop a purchase for $600 a year? I don't think so. And it's a waterfront Gulf access home. So you can still get these things done and get them done affordably, but you have to look deeper at what's being offered. Again, that was new construction, probably at a higher elevation, has all the safety things in the home, and obviously all the codes have been updated, so they're getting maximum credit. Those are the things you need to be looking for when you're purchasing right now. Now, jobs, I hear people all the time complaining about there aren't any good paying jobs. Okay, there are good paying jobs. What's your skill level? What kind of job are you looking for? Because you have to be a skilled worker to get paid more. That is the case in every city around the world. So we are seeing people that are getting paid, $15 an hour to work in a fast food joint and some other types of service work here, because we are very heavy on the service industry because it's a tourist area. But there are plenty of jobs that you can still get making much more money if you're skilled. The other thing we see a lot of right now is a lot of remote workers coming here. So they're coming here because there's no income tax, no state income tax. So that gives them a big break. They get to keep that income from where they come from. They get to live in this beautiful paradise that, this is right now sitting at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's gorgeous. Sun's gonna be out for a couple more hours still. This is what you get on the regular. So if you can bring your income and find one of those scenarios with the housing that's affordable for you and have this as your weather every day, why wouldn't you? As far as shopping and dining, there is all kinds of different shopping and all kinds of different dining opportunities throughout the area. It just depends on what you're looking for. In fact, yesterday we spent a lot of time looking for a great place to go for St. Patty's Day. Have a Reuben, have some of the, not so much green beer, but definitely have some of the foods that are associated with it. And everything we went to was packed. That's just what it is. Expect it. You're not going to just slide in and out of a place. You're going to fight some crowds. You're going to have some wait times. Some are going to be more excessive than others. The first place we stopped that was completely jammed, it was an hour and a half wait to try and get food. So we weren't doing that. Where we ended up in the evening, it took us no more than 15 minutes to sit down, order something, and get on our way. So You just have to practice patience, look in multiple locations. But on the case of shopping and dining, there's some places you're going to go and have all of it in one place. You make one stop for the day, you can walk the entire area. An area like that would be Gulf Coast Town Center. I talked about this before. It's called GCTC as well. There are numerous restaurants there, lots of shopping opportunities. That's where you're going to find Ron John and Bass Pro Shop and Kirkland's and oh, we got Home Goods down there. There's just hundreds. P.F. Chang's down there, but there's hundreds of stores down there. Guys, if you don't want to buy any jewelry, stay away from there. There's lots of jewelry stores too. But that's one of the focuses. Coconut Point, which is only a couple miles away, is another one. Again, hundreds of stores, hundreds of restaurants. And then we have restaurants scattered throughout the area. All up and down US 41, you're going to find businesses and restaurants. So whatever type of cuisine you want, you'll find it. And as far as shopping, there's select areas that you're going to go to do it, but plenty of it for those of you who have deep pockets and need to fill your closets. Now, on that note, if you're somebody that does not want to deal with a lot of crowds and a lot of people throughout the day, don't live near one of these shopping outlets. Don't live near Miramar. Don't live near GCTC. There's going to be a lot of extra traffic flowing in and out, especially around the holidays. So think about that in advance before you purchase a home. Now, outdoor activities. I started telling you all the things that go on here. And again, I'm sitting right now in Lakes Park. This is pretty much in the heart of South Fort Myers. Very popular park. There's boats you can rent here. People are fishing. You've got bicycle riding and walking and rollerblading. There's a little train that runs through here as well. There's a botanical garden. Lots of things going on here. There's even a farmer's market that happens here on Wednesday mornings from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So a lot of things go on here. This is just one of the destinations, but again, very popular because it's outside in this beautiful weather. It is gorgeous right now, and this is the way it has been for weeks and will be for many more weeks before we start hitting our warmer weather. If you are an outdoor person, you also know that we are surrounded by water throughout this area. So boating is a huge recreational activity for us here, but please do yourself a favor. Be very cautious if you're going to be out on the water. There's still a lot of floating debris. I was crossing the bridge the other day and I saw a piling that was floating by in the water on the river there. So there was another caution put out by a news team the other day about the same thing. Also, there's some sandbars that could have shifted. Markers are not where they used to be. So your breadcrumbs that are on your GPS, don't follow them religiously. You may need to replot all that stuff. And if you're taking a rental boat out, keep in mind, again, those GPS plots may be old. Check with the people you're renting from beforehand and find out if they reset the GPS so that you aren't put in a situation where you're following a bad path. All right, so we can't mention outdoor activities without mentioning things like gators, mosquitoes, no-see-ums, right? Those are things that everybody's concerned with. Well, what about these things? Can I go out? Are there snakes? So again, there are going to be critters. That's just Florida. That's what it is. And there's many states that have this. Hell, I'm from Pennsylvania. We had snakes and all that stuff up there. Poisonous ones, obviously. So you're going to have a lot of that stuff here, but you don't run across the nasty stuff that you're just totally scared of. And no, there aren't gators waiting to get you. But you're going to see geckos and iguanas, and you will see snakes. There's going to be eagles. We get all kinds of different bird species here. So if you're somebody that loves wildlife and loves the outdoors, there is a ton to see here. You will see some of the stuff you don't want to necessarily see, but for the most part, you can stay away from it or drive it away. A lot of it doesn't want to deal with you anyway. Now, as I mentioned before, entertainment here is everywhere, especially in season, and you're going to be looking for venues that will get you live music. There's a new amphitheater downtown Fort Myers. We went to a concert there not too long ago. Great time. Last night for St. Patty's Day, they had a block party down there. I mentioned the Punta Gorda block party that we happened on in the morning. That went throughout the day. These things are all over the place, just like the farmers markets. Cape Coral has one as well, the Surfside Shops. That is throughout the day on Tuesdays. And then there's one on Saturdays downtown Cape Coral. So lots of opportunities for that stuff. And if you're looking for live entertainment, you can find it in many of the different venues that you stop at. If you go up to Punta Gorda, TT's, which is right on the river, they always have live music. Lots of things going on in sunsets. You know, we're possibly going to a sunset celebration later. If so, I'll throw a video in here. But that's down on Fort Myers Beach. A lot of it's going to depend on the weather. We do have a storm coming through a little later, so I'm not sure I want to fight that one. But Lots of opportunities, so if you're looking for it, you'll certainly find it. Go on Facebook forums, look at the local papers, or go online and search things to do in the area, and you'll find a list of things to do. And worst case, if you just drive around, you're going to run into something that's going to entertain you for the day. Now here in Florida, obviously golf is everywhere. The outdoor courses, all over the place. Naples is loaded with them. Fort Myers has some great ones as well. And one of the things that we really love is the PGA Pass. So for $55 a year, you get a PGA Pass that will let you play the best courses in the area. We played Tiburon last year, and we played it after going and watching a tournament there of pros. That was pretty cool. I'm not a great golfer, but it's nice to play the great courses when you can. And if you can't get on a course, let's just say it is summertime, which is when the pass is mostly good for, and it's raining, you're obviously not going to be outside. Many of the courses get shut down with the lightning alarms. So if that happens, we do have some indoor options. And Top Golf is going to be your prime one. And I think the place that they just spun off is called Chips. It's downtown Fort Myers, and it is a Top Golf based simulation that's inside. So they've got a bar in there with obviously adult beverages and food, as well as these simulators. So there's always going to be a place for you to swing a club if you're a golfer in Florida. Another complaint that you're going to have in the area is the population density. We talked about the traffic, we talked about the lines when you go to dinner, things like that. The population is definitely taking over the space that we have here. Now Cape Coral has a lot more space than Fort Myers. There's 120 square miles out there. There's only about 15 square miles in Fort Myers. So much different as far as space allocation. Also, Fort Myers is heavily into commercial properties and storefronts. Cape Coral is not. They're more so residential. So that's why you can also find some relatively inexpensive housing out in Cape Coral, because there's a lot more of it to offer. Now, as far as the long waits that you're going to experience when you go for different services and you go for dinners, once again, adjust your times to fit the times that many people aren't going to be doing it. Try to do the early bird dinner sitting. Try to get to maybe a brunch or a breakfast early, and you can avoid those things. As far as shopping goes, we try to get to different destinations for shopping as the stores open so we can get in and out and be done. But that's your best strategy right now while we're in season. Once we're not in season, then you're going to have an easier time. The kids don't have to go to school, so parents are usually home with them, and it makes things easier. The seasonal folks are back home as well, so the roads clear up a little bit. And after this recovery work here is finished, many of the workers that have come in to help out will probably be on their way to the next destination that needs their help. And then we also have schools to think about. It is still school choice in many areas here, and not all the schools follow the same schedules. In fact, my son goes to a charter school, and they were off school yesterday for St. Patty's Day when all the other schools had to go. So my son thought that was pretty cool that he was one of the few kids that got to stay home, but then there's nobody to hang out with because all his friends were in school, right? Anyway, school choice, it just basically says that if you live in a certain area, there's multiple zones that you can choose from. You have to put the list of schools in the order that you want them. And if you're lucky, you'll get your top choice. If not, you'll default to a lower one. You can be put on a waiting list to be added to that school when it opens back up, but that's how we're running right now. Where you live does not necessarily determine where you go to school. All right, so that's a little bit more about living in Florida in 2023 and some things you're going to want to know if you're moving here. If you've got other questions about what it's like to live in Florida or even Southwest Florida, Cape Coral, Fort Myers, check out one of these other videos. And if you've got a specific question that you need an answer to and you haven't heard it yet, you've got to call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.